Hello, hello, hello.
Welcome.
Couch Champions time.
Back in the couch, and I feel so happy.
1 week
feel
closer to
happy too.
football.
Every
Yeah.
week that comes is another week closer to football. You're so right, Xander. So right.
It's almost like
And
like people are excited for Christmas when I like the season. I want the season to come. I don't want Christmas to come. So that's what it is. I want to be I want to be in the season of it.
I completely understand that sentiment. But we are the Couch Champions. Xander Sherman, Sherlin Gadet, and Theo Miller at your service.
Yes, sir.
Here to deliver you that sweet fantasy knowledge that you've been craving
Sweet
all week.
fantasy nectar.
Just straight from the vine.
Does nectar grow on vines?
Hey,
Does it?
listen.
Do some
We
research.
don't.
I think nectar comes from
We
flowers,
have not
eh?
called out. We're not the wine champions or the juice champions or the nectar
Is nectar
champions.
wine?
All right.
We diving deep down this hole. I
Yeah,
don't know.
see, Xander, you're going too deep now. You're going too deep.
We venture.
All right. Listen, we had to talk about fantasy because that's what I understand. I really don't understand anything else.
I gotta do some Googling now.
Let's find the fantasy nectar.
Let's find the fantasy nectar. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Couch Champions Fantasy Football Podcast. This is episode 10.
10. Yes, sir. 10 of these, buddy.
10 of these.
Ooh.
We getting there. Slowly but surely, we are providing you with more and more information and having fun while doing it. What y'all say, gents?
Oh, I having lots of fun, man. And thank you everybody who has been liking and subscribing. You were hitting us up on the DMs, asking us questions. Let's keep it going.
Yeah, it's been great to get that stuff in. And you know, with that nice little handover, we're gonna go right into it. We got some questions to start off this week from some viewers, some listeners to the show. We asked you guys last week to send us in some things, and we got some stuff to talk about. We're gonna keep it short, keep it simple, but we definitely want to always be hearing what you guys have to say, listening to the things that you need and giving you the information you need to dominate your leagues.
Yes, sir.
So with that being said, let's get right into it. The first question is, who would you rather have in Dynasty? AJ Brown, Justin Jefferson, or DK Metcalf?
That's
Wow.
a tough one. Jeez.
Wow.
Jeez.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, there's no wrong answer here.
Yeah,
Oh,
I would agree.
Let's get it
I
off
think
the bat.
for this one, it just comes down to preference.
Yeah. Who you like?
For
Who
me,
like,
I'd probably go with DK.
Okay.
For the main reason, one, Jefferson only had 1 year, so I still want to see what that second year looks like.
Right.
And with all them kind of being having the same value to me, I then have to pivot to who was the better quarterback, and to me, DK has the better quarterback.
Okay. I didn't even
No
think about that.
one could throw a deep ball quite like Russell,
That's true.
and DK could feast on those deep balls. So I'd have to go with DK.
definitely a fair assessment.
This is tough again. There's no wrong answers, but I probably would lean more towards Justin Jefferson, seeing that this is a dynasty question. Yeah. Yeah.
You caught me with that one.
I know,
Caught me with that
surprise,
one.
surprise.
Wow.
Because I have both AJ Brown and DJ Metcalf in dynasty. Let's clear it up for the fans.
Mhm.
Such a good drafter. But anyway.
Oh boy.
Lucky.
But for Dynasty, Justin Jefferson, I'm looking for opportunity because I look at AJ Brown and he has now on his team Julio. I look at Metcalf, he still has Tyler Lockett. And Justin Jefferson, for maybe I think only 1 more year, has Thielen to contend with. Outside of that, I think he's the clearest path to being the lead dog, the number one on the team. And seeing that, all of these guys are productive, all of those guys are great, all of them are young. For the long-term outlook, I would probably lean more than Jefferson, and that's really picking, like trying to pick.
Wow. Then I think we are actually, it's unfortunate for the question asker because I think we actually had a three-way split.
Wow.
Because I would take AJ Brown.
Yeah.
AJ Brown, I honestly, the addition of Julio does not scare me. The addition of Julio actually, I makes me believe a little bit more. I actually love AJ Brown, either just the same or a little bit more now, because you got to think about it. I mean, before AJ Brown, yes, he would have been the lead dog in that offense, but yes, he would also be going up against the top cornerback every week. Every week he would have the battle. And who's to say whether or not that would, he would have had the volume, but who's to say whether or not that could have led to 1 or 2 weeks of being shut down. Now, that team has so many different threats. You can't bottle up one. So to me, AJ Brown is he's locked and loaded. I mean, has a chance of being the wide receiver 1 overall this year. With DK, he was great. We know he's good. We know what he can do on that offense. But we did see that kind of come down at the end of the season last season after with the change of philosophy. Yeah, with Russell, the change with Russell, and they have mentioned the running game and wanting to get back to that. Not to say that there's a running game also in Tennessee, but they've been doing it for a few years now, and AJ Brown has still been able to be successful. So yeah, that of those guys that
we have one. None.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I mean, listen, but at the end of the day, if that's your choice, that's a great choice to have. Pick one, flip a coin, you have a great player.
Yeah.
Boy. That's like asking, choose your 3 top favorite foods, and one of them has to disappear forever.
Yeah, that's rough.
When do y'all want to read the next question?
All right, so our second question is, other than Najee, are there any other rookies you would feel safe starting week 1?
It's a good question. Week 1 is definitely in redraft. It's definitely different considering these rookies. Not everyone is going to have that part on the field week 1, and so it's really, for me, it's a question of trying to see who is going to have a role in week 1.
How about I have an answer, but I just want to make sure looking at the schedule. But let me say it beforehand. I would say everybody's favorite tight end, Kyle Pitts. I would say I would feel comfortable starting him in week 1.
And also considering if you drafted Kyle Pitts, you probably didn't draft another tight end. So
right, and because technically he's going to be like a receiver, and so any receiver, he's going to have, no one's going to be able to match him up. So he has a low receiver floor. So I'd be very comfortable starting him. But let me see what the schedule.
It's a tight end, so you don't know. These tight ends.
Oh no, it's preseason. Because I saw preseason and he was playing against the Tennessee Titans, and I would just say full steam ahead. That defense sucked last year. I'd start anybody against them. But let's see.
Yeah, I feel like only Pitts I would have confidence starting week 1.
I mean, maybe Jamar Chase. I don't know if I feel completely. I'm honestly, Jamar Chase is someone you kind of have to see, but at the same time, we know they have that Burrow and him have that. They have that connection.
I would say that's one of the more risky one. He's great. He's a lead dog, but there's still some other great receivers there. Suppose it's a Tyler Boyd day. Suppose it's Higgins day.
I mean, it's true. It's true.
For me, now, I don't have comfort starting any of them. Maybe preseason would change my mind if I see they have some connection going on, but as it stands, I wouldn't. Other than Kyle Pitts or Najee, I wouldn't bother.
All right, fair enough. Next question we got. Pick 2. I believe this is a keeper question. It's a question for a keeper league. And we got to pick 2 out of these 3 scenarios. Robert Woods in the 3rd. T. Higgins in the 5th or TJ Hawkinson in the 8th.
So, I mean, just
So
off
that's,
of it
I'll read that again. That's pick 2. You know, that's Robert Woods in the 3rd, T. Higgins in the 5th, or Hawkinson in the 8th. Now, for me, my greedy self, I usually kind of go straight to the best value.
Right. I know. Who would be
I
the best
definitely want T.
value?
Higgins in the 5th. Let's start there.
T. Higgins in the 5th. I mean, like y'all said, T. Higgins in the 5th. There's so much going on in that offense that I don't understand yet.
Yep, that was my first reaction to go with Higgins, and then I just answered my question.
Right.
By saying there's a lot. So,
there's a lot going on there. So, I mean, for me, it'd probably be Woods and Hawkinson.
I think it would be Woods. Woods could be our wide receiver 1. And to get him in the 3rd, I could still have like 2 lead running backs, and I could start with Woods.
That's not bad. That's not bad to start off a team with Robert Woods.
That's not bad at all.
Just never been a fan of Robert Woods. He's not bad. Just one of those guys I just never been a fan of.
Yeah, I mean,
Robert Woods is not right, and that's his biggest thing. He's not the flashiest player, but listen, man, Robert, you need this guy that's going to provide you that consistent floor, and Robert Woods, if nothing else, is consistent. He got hands. He makes plays. He gets you a nice 10, 15 points every week. I mean, I don't know.
That just feels icky making Robert Woods my first wide receiver pick.
But like we said, if you have
if he's your first wide receiver, that means you got 2 lock-up running backs, man.
2 locked-in running backs. Like you can't do better. And looking at it in the 3rd, starting with Robert Woods, there's still many great receivers in the 4th and 5th rounds for you to pick up. I'll be very comfortable.
You can start to load up on receivers and make up, just add to your depth while you have 2 great running backs giving you that great floor every week.
You may even be able to pick up Higgins in the 5th after picking Woods in the 3rd.
Listen, you guys are speaking truth. Still doesn't make it feel less icky.
Well,
still feels nasty.
I like the self-perception. Hey, I don't like hearing it, but it's true.
Yeah, listen, so all of us got to be real with ourselves every now and again.
You got to.
It's the last question. Who's got it?
What's the difference between other types of dynasty, Superflex, and what's not? Also, what's your favorite version? Auction, draft, etc.
All right. So I'll talk a little bit about this. Just considering, I think I've probably had a little bit more experience with Superflex. For me, I'm still, as someone that's still getting into Superflex, I still love like 1QB dynasty right now. If I'm gonna say what's my favorite right now, that's super. The 1QB is my favorite right now, but I'm also in the process of really understanding Superflex. Superflex adds another level of strategy to the game. I think it's definitely gonna grow to be my favorite, but as of right now,
I'm dying to get in the Superflex league.
Yeah, I mean, so let me actually say the difference though. I mean, Superflex means the super of the flex is a QB. What makes the flex, so it's a flex position that allows a QB to be added to that. That's what makes it Superflex.
Right. And to clarify, you could flex any position.
You can.
Including QB, which most leagues don't do, right? Because most leagues you can only flex between a wide receiver, running back, or tight end.
Right. Well, that's the difference. That's the main difference between a regular league and a Superflex. The Superflex allows you to play 2 QBs.
Exactly.
So generally speaking, you want to have 2 QBs because, I mean, unless, there are some people that have great teams and have players that they feel can give them those QB numbers. But generally speaking, everyone is playing 2 quarterbacks because you get more points.
Right. So it's a deeper dive into the QB swing.
Right. It makes... Go ahead.
And it's a lot more risk and planning because you definitely have to check who the matchup is against defenses when you're choosing a QB. And so that adds a totally different element rather than a 1 QB. Someone who has Patrick Mahomes, they don't have to think about a quarterback for the whole time. But if you had 2 QBs and let's say you have a Hurts or a Goff or, who else? A Fitzpatrick. You would have to actually look to see what's their matchups, because I know Mahomes is a lock, but I don't know if these other guys are going to be a lock. So it's a totally new element to think about.
One of the biggest things about that, as we wrap up this segment, the biggest time you deal with that is in the draft.
Right.
It changes your whole draft strategy. It changes pretty much everything about how you draft, and that is one thing I think that a lot of people switching over from 2 QB leagues, from 1 QB leagues, kind of sometimes miss on when it comes to the draft, and it is a deadly thing to miss on. It's just if you are switching from a 1 QB to 2 QB, the draft is different. You need to be looking at different ADPs. Everything is different.
Because it goes against our cardinal rule, right? Not to draft for QB.
Exactly,
QB,
exactly.
QBs
Your whole draft strategy changes. I'll just speak to a little bit because I just completed a super flex league this past week. I can tell you now just how the first round went. Christian McCaffrey, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray all went back to back.
That's a run.
That was the first five. That's the first 5 picks of that draft.
Yeah.
The other QBs that were taken in the first were Justin Herbert and Dak Prescott.
Wow.
So yeah, you have to get your QB early, because think about it. You know, if you have a chance, it's just now that we're adding 2 QBs to the mix, they become just as valuable as those running backs and wide receivers, or even more so actually, because the QBs have chances of giving you the more points.
Seriously.
Yeah.
So being able to grab 2 QBs in the beginning, you know, if you can grab 2 dominant QBs, you can set yourself up pretty nicely for the rest of that season. So it's definitely another level of strategy. We are going to play more of that so that we can give you guys more and more information on it as we learn. But we learn together, man. We in this together.
Yeah. Can we squeeze in this one last question? Because I know the person who asked this would kill us if we didn't answer it.
Okay. Really quickly, let's
say, what's a healthy balance of trades?
Oh boy, we all know who this is. Who asked this question?
We know who this is.
Trade wins.
Yeah.
So
y'all talk about it.
Well, I'll just with my experience with him. This guy is a trader. Can I call his name?
Go ahead, man.
Big up Mikey Fox. So he's a trader, and he's
Mikey.
He's probably executed the most trades in our league. And at first, you would say this guy is reckless. This guy just wants to trade. But if you look at his team right now, I would say that it's paid off. And so it all depends on what your league makes, on the characteristics of your league makes. I love to trade because, I always tell guys, everybody's up for sale. It's just, you just got to give me the right price and the right value. And so my team can always get better. In my eyes, anyone's for sale for the right thing. So
I think that's the right way to do it. Honestly, we're doing this for a reason. We have a, and listen, I'm not going to call names, but we have certain players in the league that have had really great drafts. They have our initial draft in the league was really great. And the players that they got.
You know about me by any chance?
No one's talking. No one's talking about you.
Right, just making sure.
Let him finish his
I don't know why you always think people talking about you.
I'm just making sure. Okay.
Anyway, like I said, we have someone that had a really great draft,
right.
And so he decided. He's basically been sitting on this great draft for 3 years. And in my opinion, I thought that there were some moves that could be made to help to better that team and move forward. But it didn't happen. And we've had 3 years of this league and the player hasn't won.
Okay. I know it's definitely not talking about me there.
Sherlin, no one is into you. Who is thinking to you?
But I know what you're saying though, because some people, this is my last point. Some people see a great player and they just think, especially in Dynasty, oh, this player is just going to be great and I'm going to ride until the wheels fall off. No, you don't do that. You try to maximize. Of course, everybody doesn't know the future, but you try to maximize on the time when he's being great. And when you see a fall off or potential fall off, you sell him at his highest value. You can get 2 great players. two great players or a great player and a rookie, someone so to keep your team balanced. And so that's the main thing in the game, balance.
You wanna be Bill Belichick. You want to trade them before they worthless.
Real talk.
And the one thing I say, and as a last note, the one thing I said to someone this week when we were talking about trades, the season after a player is the number one in fantasy in that position is the time to trade that player.
Yeah,
that's what I believe, and that's what I'm going to try to live by, even in my dynasty from now on. If I have that player that ended number one, listen, he did it. He did it. He scaled the mountain. He reached the mountaintop. He did it. It's probably not getting any better.
Right.
It's probably but the probability says it's going to be worse.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, and the chances of it being the same are not great either.
Just like that Thanos clip, you know.
Listen,
did you do it? Yes. What did it take? Everything.
Listen, it's not going to be easy, especially if that player helped you to win. But sometimes that could be the best move for your team if you can get the right value for that player.
The right value back.
Number one point there. But let's get on with it, man. Let's move on to this great division. Division, man. Got one of the best teams in the league in this division. Oh my goodness.
And which team is that?
I could just talk about this forever. But you know, we can get there. We can get there, Shirley. We can't just spurl it, you know?
Okay, don't
like
spurl it.
Mama say spurl. We can't be spurling it.
Yeah, open up too soon.
Exactly, man. We gotta, you know, stir it a little bit, man. Story it a little bit.
Stir up the pot.
Story it, man. Let it, you know, let it sitting there a little bit. You know what I'm saying, Xander? I see your face right now. You understand what I'm saying?
Can we talk about a team now, please?
Yeah, we're talking about the NFC West division. In all honesty, though, this division is packed with fantasy goodness, man. I mean, there's so much great players, so much great options to look at in this division.
We have found the fantasy nectar.
Yes.
after
for some reason, Xander, please plug your podcast where you talk about nectars and wines, so that we can, because clearly.
Yeah, that was obviously one of his vocabulary words this week. You get to plug that.
Clearly. But yeah, man, let's hop into it, and you know, I want to start off. Let's talk about the Seahawks.
Okay.
Talk about them Hawks. Go Hawks!
Hold on, Russell wouldn't like you saying it like that. I gotta tell Russell on you. And let's see.
You know where I get that from, right?
No. What?
None of y'all heard that? None of y'all. No. Last year when he got his extension, him and Ciara made this like video with them like in the bed, looked like they just finished, you know, doing the do.
I saw that.
And she was like, "Go Hawks!" And he had his shirt off. Yeah, she said it.
Oh,
like this was after he got his extension. He was the highest paid quarterback in the league, and it was just so weird.
Oh, for some reason I thought he said it. I didn't know she said it.
No.
That, and I don't think I want to.
No, yeah, you don't want to. No, his thing from last year was unlimited. Unlimited, Mr. Unlimited. Yeah, he was pretty limited by the end of the season. But yeah, let's talk about this. The Seahawks, man. Seahawks definitely are an interesting team to talk about this year. I mean, a lot of fantasy goodness in there, right?
Yeah, I mean, and let's stick on Russell since, you know, he already creeped us out. Let's stick back with him. For the past 2 seasons, Mr. Unlimited has proven to be limited. And I would say that's pretty much that's pretty much the danger in dealing with the Seahawks. I think we spoke about it before. There's a little fight going on about the change in philosophy. Do we want to run? Do we want to pass the ball? It's muddying the waters a little bit because they have a ton of weapons, and Chris Carson on the ground, like one of my favorite value running backs, and they have 2 great wide receivers, Tyler Lockett, DJ Metcalf.
Yep.
In the air, and so it's kind of hard to say which one is actually going to be the one the coach decides to build into the game plan on a weekly basis.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, it's definitely tough to look at it because You know, you look at someone like Tyler Lockett last season, who had like, I think he had one of the weeks that he had was like the most fantasy points that a wide receiver had in a week
ever.
You know, ever. Like, dude, I think he had like 70 points or something like that. It was insane what he did.
Right.
And you know, you love to see that, but at the same time, I mean, he trailed off in a major way by the end of the season. You know, he actually lost you your championship if you played him. He lost you multiple weeks.
Right.
What he did was not at all sustainable.
Right. And then those types of things are what you want to watch out for.
And then they make it worse. In Dynasty, I think he got, someone could pull up his age, but he's on I think he's maybe 28, and he just got like a 4-year extension. And so what do you really do? I thought that you should be getting rid of him, but now, like, do you keep him? Do you, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
He's 28.
He's 28.
He is 28.
He just got a 4 year. So
he's not really someone you want to be investing in Dynasty.
Right. And with
I mean, honestly, I'm scared to invest in Tyler everywhere. Not just Dynasty. I mean,
he's, like at one point he was a player you could lock in and play him every week, but now it's like
it's weird to say, man, because dude was, you know, like we said, you know, he's a baller. I mean, dude, he's made some great the toe drag swag on that dude is insane.
Yeah, he's awesome. And but some games, I mean, in PPR leagues, he has some appeal. But
the name of the game for fantasy, generally speaking, is consistency. You want someone that's going to give you as much of that as possible. Wide receivers already, generally speaking, are not the most consistent. You know, we have to acknowledge that. But you know, within wide receivers, there's a level of consistency that you can accept. And you know, it's just Tyler it's tough. It's tough with Tyler. But let's talk about DK.
I was gonna say, let's talk about it. He's wearing his grown man pants now. Like, he had a
third year coming up in the league.
Yeah, very promising rookie year. And last year, I could say he broke out, rose to greatness. He did trail off a little bit, but that was mostly on Russell's curtails towards the end of the season. But I think in year 3, he's ready to dominate. Like, he's definitely one of my top 5 wide receiver targets.
I mean, he's definitely without a shadow of a doubt the number 1 on that team.
Yeah,
like he is the option.
He is.
Absolutely, I agree. I mean, DK, for all the reasons we know Tyler Lockett is awesome. One of the main things we know about him is he's short. He's a little guy, and whether or not we're scared about that with DK is just not the case, because it's just even if he has, we know that at least one time, you know, and this is something that Sherlin has said to me multiple times, at least one time in the game, he's gonna catch something, and it's gonna be a long bomb, and it's gonna rectify, it's gonna save a week. Even if he just gets one catch, he can get you one catch for 10, and that's 10 points, and you know that'll save you from at least a 0.
Yeah, it's a wrap.
So, you know, DK, just with his dominance and his size and his athleticism on the field, is definitely someone that you want on your team. DK is in an interesting spot though. Right now, DK is going at the 208. Going around guys like Calvin Ridley, AJ Brown, Joe Mixon, you know,
I would still say that's a little bit of a value.
Darren Waller.
That is a value for Metcalf.
That decision is tougher for me. I mean, between Calvin Ridley right now, Calvin Ridley with being the only guy in that offense, Calvin Ridley, who has done it, or like, you know, have y'all seen his fantasy output for the last 2 years? I mean, that dude
he's great.
He's incredible. Like
undercover good.
Yeah, another undercover guy.
But now the question has to be asked.
Undercover for me.
The question has to be asked: does he step up or does he pull a Cobb?
A Cobb or a Juju Smith?
Like, were you as good as you were because Julio was taking away attention? Or
I mean, the thing about it is that when you, and I don't want to get too much into Ridley, but when you look into the stats, you know, Calvin Ridley, he did it against the best. You know, he was going up against that top coverage, and a lot of the balls that he caught were contested. He has a great break off the ball, and he's already proven that he can do it without Julio multiple times while Julio was injured.
I agree. I mean, I love him. If I could pick him, I'm taking him. Just I've seen it before. People were great, and then the number one leaves, and then they disappear. It's like
they're just great number twos.
Yeah, definitely true. But let's talk about this running back core that they got in Seahawks.
What core?
The core
Chris Carson, Rashad Penny, and DJ Dallas. I mean, Chris Carson is the only one we're really talking about here. But I mean, he's also an interesting prospect because while he is the guy, he has also been kind of off and on for fantasy because of the injuries.
That's the only knock against him. Other than that, he's one of my favorite running backs, and it's because of the value. A lot of guys sleep on him in one league. One league last year, I think they got him in like the 4th round.
Wow!
And he took me to the playoffs. Of course, he was hurt around that time, but if he could stay healthy, like I would grab him.
I like him. It's just the health scares me with him.
Yeah.
I think a good note for Chris Carson is, and this is a good note for anyone, when you're in your fantasy drafts. If you're going to pick a player like Chris Carson, you have to change up your strategy moving along the draft, knowing that it's possible for you to lose him in the earlier or at some point. You need to make your picks definitely more consistent guys like Robert Woods, that can give you that floor. Make up for just in case you lose Chris Carson, or you lose you need to go for consistency over someone that maybe has potential.
I definitely agree with that.
But Chris Carson is definitely a great one to have on your team, and at going at the 311 right now, and like Sherlyn said, most likely you get him later.
Yeah.
So RB2, I'd love to have him. Love to have him as my RB2.
And then I definitely want to mention, I listened to someone this week who said a big sleeper in their eyes is Gerald Everett, the tight end. And this is mostly because he just came over from the Rams, right? From the Rams. And the Seahawks consistently has targeted the tight ends. Remember Will Disley? He has his injury concerns, but when he was on the field, he was great. And then what's the other guy?
The Seahawks?
He's not on the team anymore.
I only know. Oh, you mean Greg Owens? What is his name? Greg
Olsen?
Olsen?
But anyway,
no, not Olsen. I think I know what you mean. I can't remember his name either.
But my point is that the tight end position has a lot of value on the Seahawks, and Gerald Everett, I think he's maybe in his 3rd or 4th year. He's a very seasoned tight end. He could fit into that role, and I heard some hype earlier this week, and I heard that they said he knows the playbook the best right now at this point.
Yeah, apparently Pete Carroll is really, really hype over him.
Right.
So definitely a good note.
I'm so filled off of hype.
No, right. Pete Carroll is already an overhyping guy, so you have to watch out for Pete Carroll hype.
This is like the 5th tight end in training camp, a mini camp that I've heard is gonna be so good this year.
Right.
Listen, tight end in general, we there's always, and I was listening. I heard the same thing earlier this week too. There's always tight ends. Everyone wants to find that tight end that is gonna be, the tight end this season. Every season before the season starts, the hype starts on certain tight ends, and you hear their name constantly over and over again. Yeah. So you definitely have to watch out because tight end is a position it's just kind of tough to call. It's usually kind of a shock when someone breaks out, and that's usually just their one season. And unless it's someone like a Travis Kelce, Darren Wallace, who's proven it to do it again and again. One more last note. Dwayne Eskridge, don't lose. Don't forget about him. I think he's someone to keep in mind. Late in your drafts, someone to kind of just make a little. He's going pretty much the last pick in the drafts. Dwayne Eskridge, really talented college wide receiver. And if Tyler Lockett goes down, if someone else goes down, it could be someone that you could slot in.
That's what I was going to say.
Could have value, dude. He's athletic as hell. Big, not as big as DK, but definitely bigger than Lockett, and a great route runner.
So would you pick him up in redraft, or just watch him and try and get him on the waivers?
If I could get him late enough in redraft, I'd make him the last pick. I'd see if I get him in the last pick. Why not? Especially if I had a Tyler Lockett or something like that as insurance.
He's a waiver guy for me. I wouldn't choose him unless the opportunity has arrived. For someone who I want to be a dart throw, I'm looking for him to step into that role to give you some value without the injury. Now, definitely, if there is an injury, I pick him up, but he's not.
There's a chance. There's a chance he can have value without injury too. But listen,
that doesn't speak to his.
It's all just at the end of the draft. It's all dart throws.
Yeah, it doesn't speak to his ability. It just speaks to the offensive playbook, because in the air is only going to Metcalf and Lockett. That the third receiver for years has never had any fantasy value.
Well, the third receiver been crappy, but
But there's always been athletic guys.
Has someone deserved it?
That's not entirely true.
Remember the Bahamian guy?
When they had Curse, Baldwin, and Lockett, the three of them was Eaton.
And then what's the Bahamian guy?
Dorset.
Dorset was there. And then there was another.
He was with the Seahawks?
Yeah, for 1 year.
That was a forgettable year.
Right. And then there was someone else. And everybody, these were good receivers, but there's just not enough targets there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we need to move on.
Right. Yeah. My last note is, if Chris Carson goes down, I wouldn't be picking up any of these other running backs, because
no.
Because the offensive line, Chris Carson makes it happen with a crappy offensive line. I don't know if anybody else is going to be able to.
Well, we saw it last season.
Right.
No one really took the reins last season. Everyone got a chance. No one really succeeded.
Exactly. So that's my last note.
So since we're talking running backs, let's go to the 49ers, the king of running backs.
We have to speak about all 59 of them.
The king. Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson, Wayne Gummin. I guess right now they have used Check here as a running back. Jermichael Hasty, Trey Sermon, Elijah Mitchell. They drafted 2 rookie running backs. This team, and the crazy part is they are such a great running team. When whoever is the running back is going to eat, but it's incredibly tough to know who it's going to be.
Yeah. I spoke about it. Go ahead, Glenn.
You usually stay away from New England's backfield because you never know who's getting the rock. I feel like their backfield is even worse.
It's tough, man.
Because everyone can be great any given week.
Exactly. Everyone can be great.
I guess better, but it's also worse.
Yeah,
exactly.
And I spoke about it. I have Mostert, and I went out of my way to get the rookie Trey Sermon. Hopefully, it's the right move. It's the right rookie on the right week, and it pays off.
Hopefully.
You don't want that headache.
Really, hopefully, but it is.
And I normally stay away, but I normally stay away. But like we said, this running game is so juicy. It is
It's juicy, man. Shanahan, if anything he knows how to do is run the ball. Yeah. So the ball is going to be run, and at the goal line they're looking to run to slam that in there rather than throw it.
Right.
But yeah, so I also, not to mention that the 49ers love to be injured. But
hopefully that changes.
The wide receiver core is also nothing to shake your head at with Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, Richie James Jr., Jalen Hurd, Mohamed Sanu. I'm not gonna go all down.
I'll go down the list.
It's too much. It's too much. I already said some forgettable names there.
But even the perennially hurt Kevin White is there. That's terrible.
Wow, I didn't even realize that.
Right.
Travis Benjamin is there as well.
Yeah. Jeez. So how do y'all feel about this wide receiving core?
I was going to say, put some respect on, despite the injuries, put some respect on Ayuk and Deebo Samuel.
I was just going to say, I've heard reports this hype again, but they're saying Ayuk is looking like the better one this year in terms of receivers. And a lot of people put Samuel above him, but they think Ayuk is the better receiver. So that's something to watch.
Yes.
But I think they have some really good receivers, and then you throw Kittle in there. Like the main thing with them is if they could stay healthy, they'll be great.
I know, I agree. Because I did sleep on both Ayuk and Debo before in other leagues. I had no idea who they was until they were going off on me. And then it was too late after they got injured or something, you know, and it got dropped to the wire. It was like pretty much too late. And so I would love to have a year in other leagues to just pick them up late in like maybe the 9th, 10th, or 11th, and just have them on my bench and ready to put in.
Well, I don't know if you're gonna get any of them that late.
What's the ADP?
The ADP right now for Brandon Ayuk is in the 5th round. He's going at 512.
That's very high.
Yeah, and Debo, I think Debo is going a little bit lower. Yeah, Debo is going in the 8th.
Okay, well, that's a little bit more appropriate. I could deal with that.
So yeah, I mean that the hype over Brandon Ayuk definitely has been there. I think he's going to be the higher drafted going this year just because of recency bias.
Yeah.
But like you said, I would not forget about Debo. You know, just he had a very injured season last year, but he's talented and they want to get him the ball. Now Shanahan mentioned multiple times in games where Debo got injured that the game plan was Debo.
Yeah.
You know, this is who we were basing this game around him. When he got injured, someone else had to step in.
Yeah.
So
and I love those.
I mean,
I love the way they use them. Not to cut you off. I love the way they use them. Those end arounds, those touch passes, like that's instant fantasy points. That's like
they both of their receivers, Ayuk and Debo, they're like yards after the catch. Like you get the ball in their hand and just let them work.
Yeah. So I would take whoever's the better draft value out of these guys. Currently, it looks like it's Debo. But yeah, I mean, even if you take Ayuk in the 5th, I don't think it's a bad pick because I think they're going to be. I really think this team is going to be good this year.
I think so too.
And you got to want pieces to have,
especially if you get Ayuk because like your wide receiver 2.
Right.
That's great.
Yeah.
And all right. Then the transition to the quarterbacks, like. Even though
right, I was about to move on. Go ahead, talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. Like, I'm hearing that Lance could get his start. Trey Lance can get his start this season, and I'm comfortable with both quarterbacks. And so I think it's very safe for the receivers with any of those guys. You don't have the risk of the quarterback is going to suck.
No, I don't think their value would be hurt. The question is there any fantasy value in the quarterbacks?
Exactly. And that's what I was going to say. Question. I'm not comfortable starting Garoppolo.
No.
For fantasy value, not. I'm really not comfortable with that.
I've had Garoppolo for the last 3 years, and I can tell you don't want him.
Yeah.
He's a headache.
You don't want him. But for the other pieces,
he can provide fantasy value. Definitely.
Fantasy, yeah, that's what I want to say.
And as far as Trey Lance, if it's not dynasty, I wouldn't pick him up. I just wait to see.
No. I mean, in redraft, you want to wait for these guys to start before you even consider it. And no need to have them clogging up your roster when you can have more wide receivers and running backs to shore up your backfield. Trey Lance is dynamic. He's a running quarterback with some great accuracy too. When he gets his chance, I really believe he can be something special. But you need to wait until it happens. Yeah.
Let's just call his name. George Kittle is great. Let's just say that.
Yeah, we don't.
Yeah.
Healthy.
But I mean, of the 3, are you gonna ever take him over Waller or Kelsey?
There's a chance, yeah. Now, where? If it's speaking about 1st or 2nd round.
Yeah, it depends. It depends on where. That's for me. That's the key there. I don't have the same eyes on Kittle as I did in the years past. Just because there's been a lot of injuries, there's been things happening. And if I'm gonna take a chance on an early round tight end, I prefer to have that consistency of Darren Waller or the dominance of Kelsey.
I agree.
Agreed. So we're gonna talk about Josh Rosen, who's there as well.
All right, so
yeah, moving on.
Let's talk about the Arizona Cardinals.
The Cardinals.
Let's talk with them boys.
The Dirty Birds.
Are they dirty? I think they see them as the clean birds.
No, the Falcons is dirty. Falcons is dirty birds.
Okay. Sorry. I
don't see anything dirty. This is the pretty team for me.
Oh, okay. Talk about it.
Yeah, so let's talk about it. Boy, the wide receiver room, is great football wise. Like Kyler Murray has no excuse
for NFL. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. That wide receiver roster is insane.
Kyler Murray has no excuse but to be great if he throws the ball, and that's the only thing that Kyler Murray likes to run the ball. But I think he's learned that he can't be so dependent on the run anymore. He has to learn how to get the ball in these receivers' hands.
Yeah, I mean, I assume that's why they went and got so many receivers for him. It's like, all right, you have receivers, you don't have to run anymore. Stop running before you turn into RG3.
Yeah, at the same time, that I mean, come on, you see Kyler Murray on that field sometimes. I'm scared for him, man.
He's so
look like a toddler out there.
Seriously. And so
I mean, he's
Hopkins,
fast though.
Yeah,
he's fast.
Let's call the greats. Hopkins is great.
Mm-hmm.
He's great.
There's greats and wide receiver. Is there any other one?
I don't really. I mean, AJ Green's gonna have some value. Nothing crazy.
Well, I was gonna say let's fade AJ Green off the bat. I'm not gonna.
Unless he has a Randy Moss type of resurgence, I don't really see.
No, I don't see it.
Any fantasy value in him. They drafted Rondale Moore.
Yeah,
Rondale Moore is who I'm interested in. Rondale Moore for sure.
That's a dark throw. That's somebody I would use as one of my last picks in the draft.
Yeah, I could see him taking that third spot away from Kristen Kirk, who hasn't really done much with the opportunities he's had.
He's been begging to get his job taken.
Begging for the longest.
Yeah, he has.
He's been campaigning for a long time, and he's about to get elected.
I think so. And like Rondale Moore, even in Dynasty, I loved him as a prospect, but I didn't like his landing spot as much. But if that opportunity opens up, where
I mean, it just takes a philosophy change in this offense, and like we said, I really do believe if they're smart, they can't have Murray running as much as he did. They have to change something.
They have to.
No.
So, and we know that Murray can make the passes. It's not, they don't have a quarterback issue. He can make these passes.
Yeah, he can definitely make the passes.
But the O-line hold up long enough is the issue.
So my question is, are you projecting a better season from Kyler Murray or a worse season?
I think better.
I think Kyler Murray is one of the quarterbacks that I feel like if he falls to the fifth round, I'm considering it.
Wow, and that's a fall for you.
Wow. I mean,
Kyler Murray right now I believe is going in the third.
Because I mean, you have to look at it. He already has a good floor because he runs.
Yeah, that's true. Mm-hmm. That's true.
And now he has more weapons to throw to. So I think he'll definitely have a better season than he did last year.
Oh yeah,
I think so too.
I agree. So he's one less. Very few every year. There's a few quarterbacks that if they go down low enough in the early rounds, I'm like, that's interesting. And for me, Kyler Murray is definitely one of those this year.
I mean, it's a bold move, but I like it. I really like it. If you're gonna take a quarterback early,
I'm out at it.
Yeah, I'm out at it.
In terms of the running backs, this is an interesting subject, especially for me. It's an interesting subject. We have Chase Edmonds and James Conner, the only guys we're talking about.
Go ahead, that's all yours.
Boy.
And I got connections to this, and considering last year I was a I can't even remember the boy name. Kenyon Drake owner last year. Oh, the pain I experienced last year owning Kenyon Drake. It was very difficult.
Followed that first game.
Yeah,
man. I mean, and the season before, they traded for him. He ended that season on fire, just doing everything you wanted a number one running back to do. And so you really expected that there was going to be the next step last year. But, due to the running of Kyler Murray, calling on his own number every time they get down to the red zone, and also just the lack of targets for Kenyon Drake. It made it really difficult for him to succeed. Q this season, Kenyon Drake is out of there. They add James Conner, who is, what can he sustain? It's hard. It's just hard to know what's going to happen because James Conner last year, his whole career has been glass.
Yeah.
He had a great start there in the Steelers, but injured very frequently and very often. So
I don't see any value for James Conner.
No,
everything I've been hearing is Chase Edmonds is the one.
I feel like they're only going to bring him in spots. I don't really, unless Chase Edmonds gets injured, and then Conner comes in and gets injured the same day. I don't really. Yeah. Not really.
I think this is going to be a split backfield.
I think so too.
With the chance for Edmonds, I think Edmonds is going to get just slightly more touches. Not enough to be not necessarily every week consistent, but I think he's going to provide value from you on a week-to-week basis, depending on who they're going up against.
I think
he's
Edmonds is
the dynamic catcher of the ball. We know what he can do with the ball in his hands, and they've mentioned before that they want him to get Chase Edmonds going in every game.
Edmonds has flex appeal for me. Like, I'm not actively going out and getting him, but if he falls late enough, I can't remember his ADP, but if he falls late enough
get that for you
from the 8th, 9th, I would pick him up because he has flex appeal. As you said, he could end up being the lead back, or he can end up being the third down back and catching a ton of targets, and that's pretty safe for me.
Having a RB1 in your flex, that ain't bad.
You know what I'm saying? I feel very comfortable.
Chase Edmonds going at the 601 right now. Funny enough, he's going to Brandon Ayuk is going right before him. Odell Beckham Jr. is going right after him. We got TJ Hawkinson going around the same time.
I would take Chase because, as Glenn said, he could be the starting running back. He could be the RB1 and getting him in the 6. That's very appealing.
We know that running back gets stinky real early. As you start to go down.
Yeah.
If you decided to take some wide receivers early, you could do worse than having Chase Edmonds as the RB2.
Worse. And him, let's do a little name game. Him or Odell Beckham. I'll start first. It's Chase Edmonds. It's Chase Edmonds. Odell? No, sir. What about you guys?
I love Chase Edmonds. It would depend on my team makeup for that question. Honestly,
I just want to say it depends on what I've drafted so far.
Yeah. I'm speaking from a place of hate, and it's
I can see that.
You know the hate is in your heart.
All right. So have we gone through everything here?
I believe so. The tight end is nothing. There's I don't know any of these tight ends. Max Williams, Darrell Daniels, Ian Bunting.
I've never heard these names before.
Don't even think about it. Stay clear.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Okay, let's move on
to the main event.
All right. Let's get ready. We're straight out of Rams Nation. All right.
I so hype. I let y'all see my pants. No one's supposed
we can just let him talk, or we can
no man. I need some answers. I need some dialogue going on this team right here. The Los Angeles Rams.
All right, let's do it.
The Los Angeles Rams.
The Matthew Stafford-led Los Angeles Rams.
I see very little fantasy value, if any, in this team.
Are they even a team?
Mm-hmm. Come on, guys. Come on, guys. Let's do right by our listeners.
All right, let's be objective.
Tell them the greatness coming from this team this season. I am really excited, not just speaking as a Ram fan, but just as a fantasy fan. I'm excited for this team. For the players in this team, I think you're gonna have a lot of opportunity to get some nice games.
So what player on this team are you most excited about fantasy wise?
Fantasy wise, it's got to be Cam Akers. Seeing what I saw at the end of last season in the playoff game where we gave him the ball just, over and over again, a la Todd Gurley. Sean McVay has been nothing but glowing about him in the offseason. talking about everything that he can do in the passing game and him being great, in between the tackles as well. I think he has a chance to be just a lockdown every week RB1 starter.
You're not afraid of Jake Funk?
No, not afraid of
you
Jake.
had the double jack.
Come on.
he's
exactly. I did
on the depth chart.
I did have to check.
I'm just clowning.
I mean, with a last name like Funk, I mean, he's pretty
right. But I mean, I can agree with you, Cam Akers, and he's so young, and he's
so young,
and he's broken out already. So that's like so exciting. Yeah. And as you mentioned, you mentioned Todd Gurley. Like if he can fit that role, if he could just get the opportunity that Todd Gurley has, he's gonna be great.
Yeah, don't get me wrong.
I feel like he had a good first season, and I feel to some degree they weren't giving him, the full backfield.
There's more.
And I mean, if that's what he did, limited, then
yes.
Could only go up from here. So
yeah, I still believe Darrell Henderson is gonna get some touches. I don't believe it's just gonna be all Cam Akers all the time.
No,
but it's definitely going to lean toward in his direction, and he's gonna get a lion's share of the touches, and he's gonna get the touches that matter.
Yeah, I don't think Henderson is gonna get enough touches to hurt Akers fantasy.
No, an interesting handcuff though.
Yeah, it's less muddy because Mike Brown isn't there anymore. Because remember, it was a three-headed Malcolm Brown. Yeah, that's it. It was a three-headed monster earlier in the season, and now he doesn't have to worry about that.
Right. So the sky is the limit for Cam Akers, man. I mean, he can be, he can be RB1 this season if everything falls right. I'm not calling for that, but I'm just saying, Cam Akers, I believe this could be a dominant season, but even the wide receivers in this offense right now, I mean, with Matthew Stafford at the helm, I'm so excited for Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp right now. It's just that these guys are. I mean, they were doing it with Goff.
I agree. I like how your former quarterback, you just like over with him, but last season man, you couldn't say anything about him.
I'm moving on. Listen,
you move on quickly.
We thank you, Goff, for your services. What you did for your services. You got us to the Super Bowl to lose, but
he tried.
Yeah.
But to speak about, the more I look at your wide receiver depth chart, the more, the higher I'm getting on Matthew Stafford, because to have these guys at your disposal, Robert Woods, consistency, Cooper Kupp, consistency, and he can boom, and he's fast. And then there's hype around Van Jefferson. He's supposed to break out, according to the fantasy bushes. And then for insurance, you got Deshaun Jackson, right?
D-Jax, baby.
You see, and Tutu Atwell, I drafted him very high in our dynasty draft, mostly because of his draft capital. But let's call him a wild card.
He's definitely a wild card. He's definitely we took him in the second. We took him with our first pick in the draft. Right. There's a reason for it. I'm still not very sure I understand the reason, but there's a reason for it.
There has to be a reason for it. And
I mean, one thing that high draft capital tells you is they're at least going to give him a chance to succeed.
Mm-hmm. Right. Which is why I have him deep down in my sleeper category. I'm probably only going to mention it once, but
someone to keep in mind for sure.
Someone to keep in mind.
And another one to keep in mind is Tyler Higbee.
I've heard.
Like we said, there's some vacated targets definitely with Gerald Everett gone. It looks. I mean, Higbee. He doesn't have a whole lot of competition there to worry about. I mean, there has been some buzz about the rookie Jacob Harris. But rookie tight ends, we know the deal with that. It's not gonna be this season. Tyler Higbee has had some real big boom games, man. He's got some great hands, and if he can get the targets and we know that Matthew Stafford has loved. He has found his tight end. He's the one that kind of made Eric Ebron a name back in his heyday.
That's true.
So definitely someone to remember if you decide to go. If you're punting tight end, you're waiting until the end. Tyler Higbee could be someone you can grab late, and could be someone who can give you some nice value.
Something to ponder on. Tyler Higbee had 5 touchdowns last year.
Wow.
Most tight ends ain't getting 5 touchdowns.
That's pretty. I was just gonna say that's pretty good.
That's a lot.
That's
pretty good for tight
end.
end.
So,
because I think maybe Tunyon only had maybe 8 or
Robert
12.
Tunyon, yeah.
Maybe 8 or 12. I can't remember the stat, but to have Tyler Higbee, who's been on teams that has great receivers, still catching 5 touchdowns. That's awesome.
Yeah.
He had 60 targets, 44 receptions, 521 yards, 5 touchdowns.
That's nice.
So that's a great late draft pickup for tight end.
Tyler Higbee going in the 13th round right now.
Sounds about right.
Pretty much free.
Pretty much free. Gesicki, Tunyon, Jonnu, Gronkowski, Evan Ingram, all these guys, Goddard, all these guys going way before him, and he could be just as good or better than all of them.
Like that, now I see. I mean, besides it being your team, I can see why you're so excited about these Rams. To be honest,
I'm telling you, man. Listen, with Stafford at the helm, I just think the sky is the limit for the fantasy value and Super Bowl.
All right, let's go.
Stafford almost seems like the new Tannehill. You know what I mean?
So last question. You think?
All right.
You think Stafford's fantasy value goes up or down this year?
Up.
Or stays the same?
It's up for me. It's already
Stafford is in consideration, for my late round QB. And the great thing about Stafford his whole career has been that he has been disrespected in fantasy. Even in the Lions. He has been a great fantasy QB on the Lions, Yeah. We look at the Lions, I know sometimes with disgust, but listen, he has had some really dominant fantasy seasons.
Is there any other way to look at the Lions?
This is possibly the best roster, one of the best. No, I can't say the best because he had Megatron, so can't say the best. This is one of the best rosters that he played with.
This is the best roster.
It's the best roster.
True.
Megatron was his best player, but this is best roster he's ever had. He can spread the ball to more than one person now.
Exactly. And he has a running game.
Yeah. Yeah,
I think this year we'll really see what Stafford can really do.
Yeah, I'm excited for this team, man.
And he has a good coach for maybe the first time in his career.
Yes, go Rams.
So,
go Rams.
Well, I can't poo-poo on this team as much as I wanted to be honest.
I know. It's unfortunate.
Just speaking to you tonight.
Come on. You want me to help you take down that picture behind you, or?
No thanks. No thanks.
Okay.
I'm good with this one.
All right, later. We come by later and we'll get you straight.
No, but seriously,
that's it, man. We got through.
Awesome. This is a very interesting division.
Man, like I said in the beginning, this NFC West division, get you some NFC West on your fantasy team.
The only thing that's different, because we spoke about the AFC South last week, and a lot of them had very terrible defenses. This one has a lot of good defenses, and we have another nugget you have to think about. These guys play each other. That's true. These guys play each other twice. Mm-hmm. So that's something to think about when you pick up guys and draft them to your team. So
that's definitely true.
The only team, Seattle Seahawks, if their defense can stay as sucky as it was, there's a lot of fantasy potential anytime anybody on this team plays the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, I mean, Cardinals defense is nothing to speak of either. So, man,
I don't remember it being. I have to look at it. I don't remember it being that bad, but
it wasn't horrible. But
it
was a Seahawks level. But
it doesn't inspire fear. I mean, the only
you're really scared to face them.
Okay,
right?
Cool. But before the Niners, great defense.
We'll see what JJ Watt does. Maybe he'll spark something in their defense.
That's true. See, that's something to think about.
Definitely.
Although I think we all know JJ is past his prime.
Yeah,
I forgot about that. I forgot that he was there. But yeah, I think he can. I think he's going to provide some help for them. But yeah, I'm still, nothing to be too afraid of in that division.
All right, guys.
But yeah, man, we made it through another episode, and we are coming, unfortunately, to the end of our divisional roundups, man. We only got a few left.
Yep, one more division left.
As we creep past this, we're edging closer to the season, guys. I could almost smell the sweat.
There's always something. There's always something to get happy about, even when there's something to be sad about.
And we have a preseason coming up. I'm so excited.
I think this is the most excited I've ever been for preseason.
Seriously.
Listen, I don't know. Honestly, I keep telling my wife, football is we have the longest wait out of anyone.
I agree.
So when it comes down to the games, we just need our time. We just need our time to enjoy because it doesn't last long and we have to wait long before it comes back.
Yeah, football
is so long.
It's my religion.
Yes.
It's but when it comes back, it's just delicious.
We want to thank everyone for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Oh God. Oh God. All right. With that being said, let's restart the episode with Nectar. I guess we ended with Nectar.
Full circle.
Thank you for joining us on the Couch Champions Fantasy Football Nectar. I mean, Fantasy Football Podcast. Thank you all for tuning in. Please continue to tune in and follow us on our social media, man. We are Couch Champions on Fantasy Football. I mean, on Twitter, on Facebook, and on Instagram. Couch Champions Couch on Twitter.